Tracking turbulence on the stock markets. The Trump tariffs continue to cause reverberations on Bay Street and beyond. Good afternoon. All eyes on the stock markets today as the latest escalation in the trade war started by the U.S. president is leading to heavy losses. It comes after yesterday proved to be the worst trading day since the start of the pandemic. And the bleeding on the markets doesn't appear to be over yet. Major indexes dropped even lower today as China issued its response to Donald Trump's new wave of tariffs. Beijing said it's ready to impose its own 34% tariff on all American imports starting next week. The U.S. president reacted, saying China had played it wrong, but there's been immediate fallout for investors. Let's bring in CTV's Scott Hurst. Scott, what are we seeing on the market so far today?
Nathan, good afternoon. The wild ride continues for investors. I want to say it's really feeling like a roller coaster, but ever since Donald Trump's big announcement on Wednesday of so-called reciprocal tariffs, it's been really all downhill for the markets from that point. So that's a pretty crummy coaster. Now, the losses are mounting once again. Thursday's wipeout, as you mentioned, Wall Street's worst day in 5 years, and it continues once again today. Here's a live look at the markets. The number on the bottom of your screen is the Dow Jones, down more than 3.5%, some 1,400 points on the day. And up top, that number is the TSX. A whole lot of red numbers there, down almost 1,000 points today. So the losses are continuing. But despite the major sell-off, Donald Trump seems unaffected. As he sees it, things are going as planned, comparing the shock of his tariff policy to a sick person needing an operation. And now, as he says, that patient survived and is recovering. It is a view, however, not widely shared outside of his inner circle, jolting markets worldwide, racking up significant losses, arguing the U.S. has been the victim of unfair trade for far too long, and Trump is vowing his policies won't change despite what we're seeing in the immediate reaction on the stock markets, Nathan.
And Scott, what about China's retaliatory tariffs? What impact is that having?
It is fueling more concern and uncertainty today on the markets, specifically China hitting back against the United States, announcing it will impose 34% tariff on U.S. goods starting late next week, April 10th. Just the latest country to retaliate against the United States for punishing tariffs as the Trump administration aggressively tries to reshape global trade. The new tariff matches the so-called reciprocal tariffs imposed by Trump. But if you add up levies already in place, the U.S. trade action against China totals more than 50% in tariffs, and that makes China one of the hardest hit countries on America's so-called reciprocal tariff list. Now, despite plenty of issues and animosity between the two world powers, it is a trading relationship worth close to $600 billion in goods in 2024, according to U.S. data. So that is why there is more concern on the stock markets today, and yet another day of significant sell-offs, Nathan.
All right, thanks so much. CTV's Scott Hurst with the latest on the Trump tariff war. On this side of the border, the economy shed jobs last month, the unemployment rate ticking higher. Statistics Canada says 33,000 jobs were lost in March, the biggest slide since January of 2022. The unemployment rate rose to 6.7%, up from 6.6% in February. TD Bank's senior economist James Orlando says the impact of U.S. tariffs appears to be working its way through the economy. The job losses were led by the wholesale and retail sector and the information, culture, and recreation center. Meantime, there's a possible small silver lining to the tariff turmoil. Gas prices are expected to dip this weekend. It comes after drivers already saw a big drop following the removal of the consumer carbon tax on April 1st. CTV's John Musselman is live at the pumps this afternoon with more on the expected relief. John.
Well, Michelle, we have spoken to experts. We'll just show you some video. First off, we're at a gas station in Etobicoke. People have been filling up, but we're notifying them, letting them know that prices, experts say, are expected to drop by 8 or 9 cents effective tomorrow, and even more on Sunday, another additional 3 cents. So there is some good news for people who are filling up this weekend. The advice is maybe wait one more day before you do it. Now, we did speak to some people here at the gas station who said, look, they needed gas today, so they had to fill up at the price here. It was $1.39, but they are quite relieved to hear that prices are dropping once again. We talked to a person filling up today and also an expert on the gas prices.
Well, I paid $1.58 the last time, and this is $1.39, and I need gas.
With the tariffs, there's an expectation that the economy of both the United States and Canada will slow down. So as a result, demand will drop, which means that we're looking at something called the futures market, basically looking at the future and saying it doesn't look really good. And so we don't think the value of oil, gasoline, diesel should be where it is. And that's why they're dropping the prices dramatically as they are. Gas stations usually follow anywhere from 24 to 48 hours afterwards, which is why, of course, we are going to see a net decrease here in the GTA right across the province. In fact, most of the country of at least 10 cents a litre. And then that'll be followed up by another change of a further drop come Sunday.
So that's the advice. If you can wait at least till tomorrow to fill up, you might save yourself a few dollars. Reporting live in Etobicoke, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thanks, John. We turn now to a brazen attempted robbery last night in Scarborough.
A truck smashed into a jewelry store. However, police say the thieves didn't get anything. CTV's Allison Hurst is live with more on this. Allison.
This was a terrifying incident. The owners were inside with their 3 children, ages 13, 11, and 10, and a customer was inside as well when a pickup truck rammed through the front trying to break in. Over and over, a truck backs into a jewelry store trying to bust through the wall.
Go inside, go inside.
A group of 3 people wearing dark clothes come around the building as the truck tries again. The terrifying moments playing out at this business in Scarborough while the owners, their kids, and a customer were inside.
All of a sudden, we hear a big noise and we were scared, right? Like, oh my God, like, again, they're trying to break into our store. We see, like, them, trying to break our store with a pickup. So my husband, we all freaked out. The kids and the customers were all like scared.
The owners asked that we not show their faces because this has happened before. On February 7th, someone tried to break through the same way.
This is unacceptable, honestly, to run a business and have to daily worry about if someone's going to, drive in.
This incident happened around 6:30 last evening. Shabish Nada, who owns the business next door, watched from his office.
I just heard a big bang. And I mean, I don't want to come out or anything, so I just seen my cameras. I seen a vehicle just back up into the jewelry store right there.
He says there were 5 suspects in total.
I seen a garbage bag, right? Yeah, that came out of the vehicle, and I seen a big hammer. Like almost like a commercialized used hammer. I was scared. Like I just didn't know. Like, are they gonna come after us next? Like I was really scared. Less scared, like terrified, honestly.
The suspects did not get inside. They abandoned the truck and run to a white sedan, get in, and drive away.
We already have like top-notch security cameras. We have grills. We have everything inside. It's just the outside. They just need to put them, those boulders. And I'm just terrified for my kids. The future is just like we have to live in constant fear.
Toronto police say no one was injured and nothing was taken. Toronto police say this is still an active investigation, and they're asking anyone with information or who perhaps witnessed it or has video to contact them. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Back to you in studio.
All right. Thanks, Allison. A Burlington woman accused of fraud in an alleged Taylor Swift ticket scam is due in a Toronto court today. 44-year-old Denise Tissor and 56-year-old David Blake are facing charges, including fraud and possession of property obtained by crime. Police say an investigation was launched in November into complaints involving fraudulent or undelivered Taylor Swift tickets purchased from a third-party vendor. Police say they went by the Facebook profile name of Denise Blackhawk. Tissor and Blake are also facing charges in Hudson.
To the forecast now and a live look at our beautiful city this afternoon, and we have sunshine for your Friday. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. It was really warm yesterday. Now we've got the sun continuing, and it's really comfortable.
It's a very pleasant end to what was a week of wild weather, Michelle. Not quite as warm today as it was yesterday. We're currently sitting at 7 degrees here in the city of Toronto, but that sun is shining and the winds are much calmer than they were yesterday. yesterday, too. They are coming out of the north, so that's worth mentioning. Any breeze that we get might feel a little chilly, so consider the spring jacket if you're venturing out this afternoon. Forecast daytime high 10 degrees. Not quite as mild as we were forecasting yesterday, but that's okay. Still very pleasant. We are anticipating an increase in cloudiness as we head into the evening. None of that right now. It's a beautiful blue sky, but let me step aside and show you what is waiting for us for this weekend. We are going to have another round of rain starting overnight tonight and continuing through the day tomorrow. We'll take you through a full look at the weekend forecast coming up. For now, though, Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also on the weather front, we take you to one of the areas hardest hit by that ice storm a week ago. Power is still out in parts of Orillia and Oro-Medonte.
And Premier Ford will be touring the area this afternoon and providing an update. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live with the details. Siobhan.
Well, this has been just a brutal, punishing week for hundreds of thousands of people in central Ontario. There's no lights, down trees, running around trying to get supplies and generators. Hydro One says in an update this morning that there are still 140,000 homes and businesses without power as of this morning. About 37,000 of those are properties like cottages and trailers. Hydro One has said that last week's ice storm is the worst they've seen in terms of damage and lights out since 1998, with close to 300,000 homes and businesses in the dark. Hydro One crews have had help trying to get all the lights back on from municipalities across Ontario, New Brunswick, and Quebec. The mayor of Oro-Medonte has seen some of that work firsthand.
Things have come along quite well, considering the circumstances. We have been in communication with the province on getting extra assistance, and they have deployed many more utility companies from around the province that come in and help. In fact, on the way in this morning, I saw Toronto Hydro just setting up to repair a bunch of three-phase power lines.
Now, not far away, Orillia's mayor says they've really been struggling under what he calls a triple whammy of bad events.
We had an ice storm, then we had another ice storm, then our sanitation plant got hit by lightning. I mean, who makes this stuff up? I don't know where it comes from, but we're taking it in stride. We're doing well. Caution people. They've been polite to a fault. I mean, the struggle's real, but we're getting through it.
The CEO of Hydro One was in the region this morning trying to rally the troops and tell people that help is on the way.
The message, people that are waiting, we understand how hard this is for you. We empathize. We are bringing in more crews today, and we are going to get to you as quickly as we can. We are coming.
Well, the Premier is on his way to the region. He will have some cabinet ministers at his side, the Minister of Emergency Preparedness and the Ministers of Energy. They'll be talking to hydro workers and seeing some of the damage firsthand. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Well, the fallout over the latest round of tariffs announced by President Donald Trump continues to dominate on the federal election campaign trail. CTV's Kamal Karamali joins us live with the latest. And Kamal, while there are so many issues that are so important for Canadians right now, this election campaign is very much about the American president and who's best to help Canada weather all of this.
Absolutely. I want to focus a bit on Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, who's speaking right now in Trois-Rivières, Quebec, on the campaign trail. His latest promise, as he's on the podium right now, is tougher sentences for intimate partner violence and to create a new offense with stricter bail conditions. So that's his focus today as he's speaking. We heard from Jagmeet Singh, who's in Montreal, saying that the NDP would close loopholes that allow corporations to put money in offshore accounts. And you'd only be able to create an offshore account if a company can prove that it has genuine business reason to do so. So that's where the Conservatives and the NDP are campaigning today, and the promises they've made today. What is Liberal leader Mark Carney up to? Well, he was earlier this morning in Montreal promising to bolster the CBC Radio-Canada with an additional $150 million of funding. Have a listen to what he had to say earlier this morning.
We will not only increase CBC Radio-Canada's funding by $150 million, but we will also make this funding statutory, meaning that Parliament as a whole will need to approve any future changes to its funding, not just the Cabinet. By strengthening our public broadcaster, we're protecting our identity and our culture and helping it to shine around the world.
And Carney also saying he would help fund more local bureaus and reporters with a focus on local news. So that's just where the three major parties are today, Michelle and Nathan.
And as we digest the new tariffs, how are party leaders responding? What are they saying? And also, how are they faring in the polls?
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, yesterday was a big day for all major party leaders, sort of responding to Donald Trump's global tariff threat that he announced on Wednesday. Carney saying that they would tack on a 25% tariff on all vehicles imported from the United States. Meanwhile, Poilievre had said he would eliminate the federal sales tax on all Canadian-made vehicles, and Jagmeet Singh focused on what he called a secure tax-free savings bond. So the big question today, Michelle, is how is the public responding to these responses by the party leaders? Have a look at the latest Nick Nano's polling. It shows that there's a 10-point advantage for the Liberals now over the Conservatives on day 13 of the federal election campaign. And if we could flip it over to the next slide here, Mark Carney has opened up a 20-point lead over Pierre Poilievre when it comes to Canadians' preferences for prime ministers. You can see there the Liberals at 46% over the Conservatives at 36% previously. When it comes to the parties, the New Democrats Party remains there at 4.5% with Jagmeet Singh, and you see there with Bloc Québécois and the Green Party and PPC on the right there. So a major shift continuing to happen in terms of what Canadians' preference, not only as the party they want to see elected, but the leader of Canada. It looks like the response by Carney seems to be grabbing Canadians' attention more, and we've heard from Conservative Party members that they want to see a little bit of a shift in terms of maybe what Poilievre focuses on. Once again, he's at the podium at this hour right now talking about intimate partner violence response.
Well, we'll let you listen in. Carmel Karamale in the CTV National Newsroom, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Michelle.
The Prime Minister says the era of close economic partnerships with Washington is over. CTV's Sean Leathong traveled to the border where Canadians and Americans alike are bracing for the impact.
At a landmark shared by two countries where looking across the river is looking into the United States, and Americans like James Reese could walk across the border into Canada, talk of tariffs comes with hope for resolution.
My personal thing is I respect, the Canadian and the American relationship, and I just hope this is just a negotiating tactic to where everyone can just get friendly again, and guys like me can come up here and get some poutine, which is what I'm about to go do right now.
Many others visiting Canada for the day chose not to talk about trade tensions. Down the road at a truck stop near the border, where a 25% tariff on vehicles shipping to the United States could hurt some drivers' employment, and opinions are clear.
Yeah, Donald Trump. He's creating strife where there never was one. You know what I mean?
The day that auto tariffs go into effect, emotions are raw.
Yeah, it sucks. It's horrible for everybody. It's just horrible. This whole thing is horrible.
Ben Downey says that he would have voted for Trump if he were American.
But then I kind of went, did you go crazy? What happened?
And he says this trade war just doesn't make sense.
At first it was about fentanyl coming over the border, and then that didn't seem to make a lot of sense, and then it became something else, and so now it's about making America great again, and I just don't know.
Frank Franz is heading to Pennsylvania, and he says this trade war is an opportunity for Canada to become more independent.
I think we're waking up to what we should be doing. What Trump is doing is bringing jobs back. I know it's going to probably, in the short run, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt us.
Just how big that hurt will be is cause for great concern around here. So whether it's tension about a person's livelihood or just tension between neighbors, there is a sense that the relationship between Canada and the United States has changed. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
As NATO foreign ministers wrapped up a meeting in Brussels, the U.S. Secretary of State defended his country's moves on tariffs.
Businesses around the world, including in trade and global trade, they just need to know what the rules are. Once they know what the rules are, they will adjust to those rules. So I don't think it's fair to say economies are crashing. Markets are crashing because markets are based on the stock value of companies who today are embedded in modes of production that are bad for the United States. We have to be a country that thinks we're the largest consumer market in the world, and yet the only thing we export is services. And we need to stop that. We need to get back to a time where we're a country that can make things, and to do that, we have to reset the global order of trade.
Rubio rejected claims the economic damage caused will only make it harder for NATO members to reach higher defense spending targets demanded by the U.S. Also today, NATO members discussed the situation in Ukraine and the efforts to get Russia to agree to a ceasefire.
It is still the case that our judgment is that Putin continues to obfuscate, continues to drag his feet. He could accept a ceasefire now. He continues to bombard Ukraine, its civilian population.
David Lemmy's comments came as a wave of Russian strikes overnight hit communities in Ukraine. In Kharkiv, at least 3 were killed and 32 hurt in a drone attack. Russia has effectively rejected U.S. proposals for a full and immediate 30-day halt in the fighting, prompted by their 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Washington says it remains to be seen whether or not Russia is, quote, serious about peace.
Israeli strikes have killed more than a dozen people in Gaza today as troops ramp up their offensive against Hamas militants. The escalating violence comes after the collapse of a ceasefire last month. At least 17 Palestinians were killed after an airstrike hit the southern city of Khan Yunis, according to hospital staff. Hours later, people were still searching through the rubble looking for survivors. Israel has vowed to ramp up efforts to free 59 hostages being held in Gaza by seizing large parts of the territory, which faces an ongoing blockade on food, fuel, and aid. Hamas says it won't release them unless a lasting ceasefire is reached, and it won't lay down its arms.
Some dramatic developments in South Korea, where the country's constitutional court has ousted impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol over his brief declaration of martial law in December. Yoon's opponents erupted when it was announced, while his supporters greeted the news with dismay. Yoon was suspended in December after he was impeached over his short-lived military takeover. A snap election to vote for his replacement will be held June 3rd.
There are changes in the air at Pearson Airport.
Virgin Atlantic is set to take flight from Toronto once again. CTV's Beth McDonnell checked in with its founder, Sir Richard Branson.
It's been 10 years since Virgin Atlantic planes from London touched down at Pearson Airport. On board one of the first flights, Virgin Group founder Sir Richard Branson, who exited the aircraft with much fanfare, flanked by his team and Canadian and British flags.
We're just so pleased to be back here again.
Starting this past Sunday and through the summer, the airline has daily flights between Toronto and London.
For some reason or other, it seems that a lot of Canadians want to go that direction rather than another direction at the moment. So we're happy to oblige.
It's been a decade since Virgin Airlines abandoned its London-Toronto route, and some analysts believe now is a good time to bring it back.
It's summer, so it's a lot of Canadians are traveling, and fewer Canadians are traveling to the U.S. as the relationships between the two countries.
This management professor says the timing makes sense with demand for flights to the U.S. down, while London is a key connector for many other world cities. With the tariff situation, more Canadians, he says, may choose Europe for a vacation, with Virgin Atlantic offering another option.
More competition means prices go down in theory and in practice as well. But demand is up in the summer. Demand is up because of the economy, what's happening with our friends to the south. So that when demand goes up, so do prices, because there's more people want to be on the plane.
Branson didn't want to comment directly on the U.S. tariffs and focused instead on the relationship between the U.K. and Canada.
Between Canada and Britain, there are, I don't think, any tariffs. I can never see any tariffs existing between our two countries, and hopefully the two countries can become even closer.
This time the company has expanded its partnership with WestJet. It says it's learned a lot after having to withdraw from the Canadian market, and this time it's here to stay. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
Well, it is back to reality today, temperature-wise, after a real summer-like feel yesterday. Let's take a look at some of the highs reached around the region. And Toronto, the big winner, downtown specifically, 21 degrees yesterday, 20 at Pearson, and also reaching that 20-degree threshold in areas like Niagara and over toward Oshawa. Here's the thing, though. We're going to cool down a little bit for the early part of next week. We might get some flurries or even measurable snow on Monday. And then Tuesday, we're going to struggle to make it past the freezing mark. A detailed look at your 7-day forecast is coming up after this break here on CTV News.
We turn our attention now to a hidden gem in our city that is free to the public. A set of murals you'll find under the Gardiner Expressway. And that's where we find our Jessica Smith live at the Bentway. Jess, art is everywhere, even in unexpected places.
It really is. We're just off Strawn, and we are quite literally under the Gardiner Expressway right now. And I want to talk about a piece that I know because it's kind of in a neighborhood that I frequent often. But if you don't live in this end of the city, it might be kind of hard to find. We're underneath looking at memory work. I want to start with Alex, and you're part of the Bentway team. Talk to me about what inspired you guys to bring this free public art to this space. Now, it's been here for a while, but it kind of gets reimagined as it continues to exist here.
Absolutely. So the Bentway produces a robust public art program of alternating temporary public artwork, and memory work is so crucial to all of the work that we do here. It's a portal into the site, which is a shared space that used to be, nothing. It was a disused space under the highway and has now become a new imagined space for the entire city to gather. And it's a really, it's a beautiful piece that really showcases the possibilities of the future of the city.
And Macy, I know there are some really powerful women and figures that are depicted here. What kind of inspired you to bring these larger-than-life characters to this space to kind of help inspire people and reimagine the space as we continue to move through our cultural landscape that changes almost every day?
It was really important throughout the research process that we were speaking with members of the community and that we were getting firsthand stories and narratives from people in the city. And all of these women here were inspirations to us. They are kind of the leaders doing really interesting emerging things within their practice, and so they became kind of the present day seeds of what these potential imagined future roles could be that are led by women in a potential future for the city.
And Tal, I'm going to come over to you. I want to talk about kind of why this kind of space, because I feel like free and public art is so important, especially when it comes to accessing things in the city and for people to be able to actually come through and really be able to enjoy it at their own pace and really in their own way.
Yeah, I think public and free art is really important in this city. It's getting more and more expensive all the time, and we need these accessible spaces where you can sit and take time and enjoy the company of your friends and contemplate things like, women in leadership or just be able to enjoy the great outdoors and not feel like you have to spend a lot of money. So yeah, I think, it just makes our lives that much more beautiful.
And I know there's a digital component to it. There's a phone number as well, because the research is ongoing. Talk to me about how that works.
Yeah, so we see this project essentially as a research platform. So we have a website where you can see all of the research that informed ultimately different aspects of this artwork. And there's a phone number that you can call in to listen to basically the stories of each of these characters. And then also on the website, there is the initial kind of first manifestation of the project, which is a speculative audio soundscape that takes you into the world of this possible potential future. Yeah.
It is cool. It is free public art, and that sparks joy for a lot of people. I'm going to send things back inside. We're going to continue to enjoy it while we hang out under the Gardiner. I'll send things back inside.
All right. Thank you, Jess. And notice they're not wearing thick, heavy coats today, which is nice. Yesterday, of course, it was in the 20s, which is amazing. And it is Friday, looking ahead to the weekend, and things aren't too bad.
You know what? This is what you want for a Friday, right? So comfortable. You don't have to have a big, heavy jacket. We've got the sunshine. The weekend is not perfect, but there's some things to like, I'd say.
I would say so. And, soon on Fridays, we're going to start talking about patio weather. It's coming. It's coming. Maybe not quite today, but it's still quite pleasant out there. And it's true. It's not all bad news when it comes to the weekend. We do have some wet weather in store, but nothing like what we experienced a couple of days ago. Let's get to it. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. It was a very busy week in the weather department, so we were pleased to see this beautiful sunrise this morning over Lake Ontario. Doesn't our city skyline look gorgeous with a pink background, the sky behind it, red sky and morning. Here's the thing, we do have some active weather as we make our way into the weekend, but today is looking pretty good overall and feeling not bad. It is 7 degrees right now. It's 3 degrees though in Sudbury, 8 in Windsor, as well as Trenton, 7 for you in the nation's capital, city of Ottawa. Today's high is expected to be around 10 degrees. That's on the warm side of seasonal. Average daytime high this time of year is about 9. And through the evening hours tonight, still calm calm as far as the winds are concerned. Still not all that cool. 7 is what we're forecasting, but you can anticipate that we will start to see an increase in cloud cover. That might dull our sunset a little bit. And then overnight, this is when the active weather is set to begin. Ahead of that, a low of 4 degrees. That's a little bit warmer than what's considered normal this time of year. And then tomorrow's daytime temperatures still in many cases in the double digits, sometimes in the teens. 12 is what we're forecasting in Oakville as well as Vaughan. And 11 for you in the Port Perry area, single digit around Haliburton. But of course, take notice of the icons. We are anticipating some rain, periods of it, maybe heavy at times through the overnight and into tomorrow morning. It actually now looks like we could get 2 waves of moisture moving through for tomorrow, and as a result, that could mean 5 to maybe 15 millimeters of rain here locally in the GTA. Some areas might see more than that, especially just along that north shore of Lake Erie in through Niagara, and then the north shore of Lake Ontario too, over toward Kingston. This is where the higher rainfall totals are expected. There's early this evening, that increase in cloud, the showers or perhaps steady rainfall beginning through the overnight into early tomorrow morning. Bring the umbrella with you as you're venturing out Saturday morning. We're going to get a little bit of a break in the afternoon, but then it looks like another wave of rainfall could arrive for your Saturday evening. Take stock of that if you have Saturday night plans. Sunday, this is good news. It looks like we're going to get into a little more in the way of sunshine than it was looking like yesterday. So mostly sunny skies, daytime high of 8. Let's talk about Monday, though. Chance of flurries or maybe even about a centimeter of snow late in the day. Look at that overnight low. And then Tuesday, we might only make it to a daytime high of 0. That's your weather for now. Michelle, back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. We're following breaking news out of the courts this afternoon where a teen charged with manslaughter in a group attack on a homeless man has pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of assault. This teen girl was set to face trial next month in relation to the death of 59-year-old Kenneth Lee. He was attacked by a group of teens in December of 2022. A total of 8 girls were arrested and charged with second-degree murder. 5 have previously pleaded guilty to lesser charges. A verdict is expected at the end of May for a 6th girl who was tried by a judge, with closing submissions in that trial happening yesterday. The teen who pleaded guilty today to that lesser charge will be sentenced at a later date.
There are a few transit disruptions to keep in mind this weekend. On line 1, Young University, there will be no service this weekend between Shepherd West Station and Lawrence West Station. And on line 2, there'll be no service between Warden and Kennedy stations. In both cases, the closures are because of planned track work. Shuttle buses will be running along with extra Wheel-Trans vehicles. And GO train riders will want to double-check their ride schedules before heading out the door tomorrow. Metrolink says it will be adjusting weekend service on the Lakeshore East and West, Barrie, Kitchener, and Stouffville lines. The transit agency says it's doing so to better reflect actual travel times, with further weekday service changes coming Monday.
Still ahead, giving inmates a glimpse at a better life, how virtual reality is being used inside Canada's prisons. That's next.
The federal government is rolling out a new Canada disability benefit this summer.
However, as Rita Ismail reports, disability advocates are concerned the provincial government will claw that money back.
Disability advocate Jeffrey Salisbury is frustrated.
It's meant to help people, not pad the pockets of the Ontario government.
Salisbury is referring to a new Canada disability benefit, which the federal government is expected to roll out this summer. He's among many qualified recipients in Ontario who are worried they won't see the extra money if they already receive payments under the Ontario Disability Support Program.
I'd like to see them not claw it back, and I'd like to see them remove other clawbacks, because there's other benefits too, like Canada Pension Plan Disability, that they already steal that dollar for dollar off of people from ODSP if you have that benefit.
The CDB program is meant to improve the financial security of working-age people with disabilities, but Ottawa cannot dictate how provinces treat it.
There are 6 other provinces and 1 territory that have already made that announcement. They have made the decision that it is punitive and unfair to claw back provincial disability assistance when the federal disability benefit becomes available.
CTV News reached out to the Ontario Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. They declined an on-camera interview, sending a statement instead. In part, it reads, "Our priority is ensuring the Canada Disability Benefit builds on existing programs like ODSP and that people have access to it with as few barriers as possible. We have asked the federal government to work with us to ensure people have continued access to benefits by amending the treatment of the benefit in the Federal Income Tax Act." Sattler says even with the new benefit, people with disabilities are still living far below the poverty line.
It's inhumane to even think about clawing back this small additional amount of money.
The first month of eligibility for the federal benefit will be this June, with the first payments starting in July. Rita Ismail, CTV News.
For the first time, some of Canada's prisons are allowing inmates to use virtual reality.
W5 John Woodward has a closer look at how this technology is being used and how it could improve their chances of reintegration on the outside.
And today I'd like to take you for my fireside chat.
A fireside chat at the water's edge in Jasper National Park, a place inmates in Canadian prisons would never be able to reach. But they're experiencing being there now thanks to virtual reality.
So this is VR.
Teacher Andy Stubbert shows off the technology in a classroom inside Bath Institution, a federal medium security prison near the shores of Lake Ontario.
It gives them the opportunity to escape into an environment that they wouldn't normally be able to participate in.
An escape without escaping. Much of the content is education about Indigenous culture, but there's job training too. Classes include operating heavy equipment like cranes.
I could go to a construction site and look for it myself, but the people here in this classroom, they don't have that option.
Absolutely, yeah.
It is almost like a 360-degree view. Like everywhere you turn your head, it's there.
This inmate, Bill, took those VR classes, a part of the high school courses he started taking here in his 60s.
When I was 17, I knew it all, right? So I didn't have to go to school. So.
No high school diploma, a big factor in why inmates like Bill end up here. He thinks the courses could help him get a job when he gets out.
What was it that made you want to come back and learn?
Yeah, this prepares you and it enlightens your mind.
The virtual reality is part of a suite of new technology, including giving inmates internet access for the first time, officially. Unofficially, prisoners are already smuggling in cell phones by the thousands to get unrestricted internet access. And Bill admits there's a potential for misuse.
If there's a window for someone to try and do something illegal, they're going to do it, right? In this place. You know, there are people that are just have criminal minds, or else they wouldn't be here.
Security top of mind for corrections, says Chief Information Officer Stéphane Blanchard.
It's supervised access at all times.
What kind of skills would you hope inmates could learn from virtual reality?
We hope that it's going to be skills that they can use in real life once they are released. Skills like construction skills, mechanical skills, that kind of stuff, but stuff they can apply to real life as soon as they're released.
It's just a pilot program. It may be a first in Canada. It's already being done in the U.S. Here in Colorado, prisoners have been given VR tools as a way to practice everyday skills like laundry. One prison saw a dramatic reduction of violent incidents after a week of sessions.
So these are some of the employment readiness VR that guys can take a look at.
Teacher Andy Stubbert sees the potential.
For us, I think it's a bit of a tip of the iceberg, so it's something that education is going to embrace.
He hopes when inmates see scenes like this in real life, they're ready.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Many people pay their utility bills online now, which is easy and convenient, and most of the time it's done without any issues at all.
But if you do make a mistake while paying a bill, getting that money back isn't as easy as a simple click. It can take weeks or even months. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
when that happened, it was kind of like a very hard blow, a slap in the face. I was like, I can't believe I did this.
Naomi Kahn of Toronto usually pays her bills on her computer, but in February she paid her electricity bill using her phone. She owed Metergy Solutions $84.72, but she accidentally left out the decimal point and paid $8,472. She only noticed the mistake days later when she needed to pay other bills and her rent. She thought it could be corrected right away.
I'm hoping that they will respond immediately and refund my money immediately.
But Kahn says her hopes were dashed when she had difficulty trying to find out how her funds could be returned. She grew frustrated trying to get answers and says no one could tell her when the payment would be reversed.
This is a song and dance for the entire 2 weeks. And up till now, no one has reached out to me to say anything.
Mistakes paying bills do happen. We did a story not long ago with a senior paying a Visa bill online of $131. She accidentally paid more than $13,000. It took more than 3 months to get her money back.
The money is just gone. It's in the netherworld, right?
Kahn was paying her electric bill to Metergy Solutions. The company told CTV News it was aware of the mistake and was working as quickly as possible to return the funds. A spokesperson said Metergy is committed to customer care and ensuring urgent requests are addressed promptly. While Ms. Kahn's request was already in process, we took additional steps to accelerate it. Almost 1 month after making the mistake, Kahn received a full refund minus her payment, which was great news for her.
Thankful for CTV that you guys are an amazing voice for those who have no voice. So I really thank God for you and what you guys are doing.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Turning next to the latest in the liquidation of Canada's oldest company. Sales are continuing at Hudson's Bay locations as the retailer prepares to shutter most of its stores. CTV's Scott Lightfoot has the latest.
At Fairview Mall, the Hudson's Bay liquidation sale continues.
It was a little depressing, to be honest with you. It's sad to see an icon go down the drain that way.
This is one of 80 Bay stores that will close by the end of June. Today, shoppers were picking over goods which have been marked down by 20 to 40%. Some areas had already been cleaned out of merchandise. Kathleen McDonald came to spend some gift cards which were not working, despite the company saying they would be honored until April 6th.
My gift cards were apparently all dead, which I don't believe to be correct. They were still in the gift card envelope. So I'm on the phone, I'm on hold, and I'm going to get some answers.
The beleaguered company is facing many questions as it tackles a billion-dollar debt and tries to keep 6 retail locations and its online operation running.
It's a bit like a garage sale. They've got their trademarks up for sale. They've got the 6 stores up for sale. They've got the online business up for sale. They've got their joint venture with RioCan up for sale. They've got their warehouses up for sale.
Value may also be found in the leases held by the company. The company is in the process of looking for potential buyers for its massive retail footprint.
You know, the leases have value, especially the long-term leases that were written at very low market rates. Some of the leases have value based on today's higher market rates. Having said that, I don't know of anyone who would really want, you know, a 3 or 4 floor lease in a mall.
The company has set an April 30th deadline for bidders to submit final proposals as the liquidation process continues at stores across the country. Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
British actor and comedian Russell Brand's been charged for alleged sexual offenses dating back to the early 2000s. Officials say the charges relate to 4 women and involve rape, sexual assault, and indecent assault. The alleged incidents occurred from 1999 to 2005. Brand has previously denied these allegations and today repeated his assertion that he never engaged in non-consensual activity. He's expected to appear in court in May.
In sports, the Jays will look to stay hot as they kick off a 10-game road trip this afternoon against the Mets.
First time up. Now a ball in the air to left, hit pretty well. Wood turns and it's gone.
The Blue Jays are coming off a sweep of the Nationals and have won 4 straight games. Kevin Gausman will make his second start of this season. First pitch this afternoon goes at 3:10.
Baird to take it away from Benton. In the corner, wide open, Walter got it.
The Raptors will host the Pistons tonight after a loss to the Trailblazers. It was a close game in the first half, but The Trailblazers pulled ahead in the third quarter and stayed in front the rest of the way. Portland won it 112 to 103. Tonight's game against Detroit begins at 7:30. Coming up, the highly anticipated new North Building at St. Lawrence Market is set to open this weekend. Details after the break. The new North Building of St. Lawrence Market opens tomorrow. As of 5 a.m. tomorrow, you can grab fresh produce and shop local at the Saturday Farmers Market in the newly developed space. It's the soft launch of the new building across from the iconic St. Lawrence Market at Front and Jarvis. The grand opening is set for May 10th. The 5-story, 228,000 square foot building has been in the works since 2019, quite a while.
And it's a beautiful day for a stroll downtown or anywhere. Might need the umbrella tomorrow, though.
Might need the umbrella tomorrow, and we might see an increase in cloud cover as we make our way into the evening. There's your dog park forecast. Hopefully conditions are a little drier out there. We do have more rain in the forecast, though, for the weekend, so perhaps some muddy paws by the end of Saturday. That's the day that's going to be particularly unsettled. Sunday is drier, mainly sunny, but a little bit cooler. A reminder that we are really going to cool down into the early part of next week. Look at those overnight lows for Monday night, Tuesday night, and the daytime high Tuesday, 0. Nathan and Michelle.
Big difference. Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
I'm Nathan Dowd. And be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.